On this planet, you will die. We have seen it.
Dune Awakening is going to be split into two hateful groups, the PvE players and the PvP players. And those that fall in between will be the mass casualties. Hello and welcome. In the last video, we went into a lot of detail to answer the question, can you solo Dune Awakening? Based on all the information that's publicly available. Now, although we covered a lot of great detail, a huge oversight on my part to help substantiate the claim of having the ability to solo Dune Awakening in its entirety would be more definitive by explaining the loot system and the marketplace. So in this video, we're going to expand on can you solo Dune Awakening? This is basically a part 2 where we're going to go in a bit more depth about the loot system, the marketplace. By far, the most important thing you need to understand as a PvE player, what happens when you die within Hagar Basin or in a PvE zone? When you die in the PvE zone, you will drop a chest. That chest is going to contain a portion of your resources, materials, and anything that is stackable. Now you can reclaim all those materials if you can get back to the location where you died, cancelling out losing those items. So theoretically, it's very difficult to lose items within the PvE zone. You die, you lose a portion of it, you can reclaim it, and there are 2 exceptions to this rule. One is the worm. If you die anywhere in Dune, you're fucked. You lose everything. And the only other exception to this are the PvP zones, points of interest that exist within Hagar Basin and the PvE zones. So how does that rule apply? Well, from what we can gather, when you die in a PvP point of interest that exists in Hagar Basin, you will still only drop a portion of your resources. However, other players can pick up your loot from that chest that you drop. So if you die and you can't get back there quick enough, you're going to lose that loot. So there are only 2 rules of losing loot. Well, perhaps 3. 1 being more of an edge case. 1 being the worm, you lose everything. 2, you die in a PvP zone and someone steals your shit. And 3, more of an edge case, we don't really know, is what will happen when you die in a PvE zone and you can't get back to the location in a reasonable time. Do those chests last forever? Don't know the answer to that yet. So that just covers what we can lose. All items that are stackable, but what else will happen? Well, when we die in Dune Awakening, we know we're going to lose durability on our armor, weapons, and pretty much every utility or everything else that's not stackable as far as we know. We don't know how much durability will be lost each death, but basically if you're dying a lot, your durability is going to run down on your equipment, forcing you to craft and build more to replace what's being damaged. That's our current understanding of how the loot system works within Hagar Basin. It's very forgiving, excluding those 2 scenarios of the worm and PvP zone. When you die in the PvP area, the same rule applies. As far as we know, a portion of all your stackable items will be dropped. Reclaiming it is going to be much more difficult as you have to overcome other players. So there's a good chance when you die, it's gone. Now, we don't know for sure if there are some regions where it's a full loot area where you would lose everything. But as far as we know, we don't know that to be true, but it's not confirmed. So the PvP loot system works exactly the same. You will lose durability, you'll lose a portion of your items, but realistically, reclaiming those will be very difficult. So to recap, PvP, you're losing stackable items. It's not 100% known, but from what we can reference, you don't drop your gear, your utility items, your cutter array, and things of that nature. It's only the things that are stackable, resources, materials, whatever else that ends up being. So why is the loot system important for those seeking a true PvE experience? Well, it's very forgiving. Ultimately, the only issue we're going to have is the deep desert, where you're only going to be losing resources. So if you've been sneaking in, avoiding guilds, getting all the good stuff, you equip it, you go out again, and then you get jumped by 20 other people in a guild, you're only going to lose the resources or potentially a vehicle. However, all that gear that you've slaved away to get will remain within your inventory, with the exception if there is a full loot PvP area, which we don't know. So ultimately, that is very, very forgiving. This is going to help PvE players exist in the ecosystem of PvP guild infested deep desert territory. Now let me know in the comments what you think about the loot system. Do you think that is going to help the case for the pure PvE players? For me, this is a huge aspect to consider. This is why I wanted to make this video, as the loot system is super forgiving, and that can kind of help address some of the comments and concerns where people were under the impression that in the deep desert, you lose everything and you're not going to be able to survive. Now, if that wasn't enough for you, the next system we're going to visit is by far the most important for the PvE player, by far. This system alone is somewhat unique to Dune Awakening, not to mention a lot of the mechanics of Dune Awakening that we understand so far is very fresh and unique to it. But this is going to be the marketplace, aka an auction house. It has been suggested that you can go to an auction house and buy any single item within the game. So we are talking about accessing all late game materials, vehicles, everything that is locked within the deep desert can be purchased. It's going to cost an arm and a leg. You're going to need to be crying spice to purchase some of these potentially, but it's also going to have to obey to the laws of the economy. And this is one of the most interesting and fascinating aspects to this game is the economy. One, of the auction house, two, of spice. So we're going to dive deep into this and extract what we know about the economy of Dune. But just know, for you PvE players, there is nothing locked behind deep desert. You can access everything. You're just going to have to pay with blood and spice and Solari to get everything you could ever dream of. Now, before we jump into the economy, why is this so important? Well, it means that we can slave away PvE area, then sell whatever we want, get enough Solari or spice, whatever's available, track what is selling for the highest bidder, basically observe what is the best to sell those items, generate a lot of Solari, then purchase all the endgame gear or weapons that we want. And then we can even go into the deep desert being much more prepared, saving a ton of time. So it means we'll be able to go in there being much more prepared and having the same equipment, which we can't lose as far as we know in terms of armor and weapons. We will only lose durability. So that's going to give us a huge advantage compared to where we thought we were before, where we thought everything would be locked behind the deep desert and you would just get jumped and there's no survival. But we know in the deep desert, there's a PvE area, which is completely safe, where you can build your base and then go out and venture. Now we also have the economy system, allowing us to purchase everything within the game. Let me know what you think about this auction system, because to me, this is truly a fantastic aspect of the game and how it's going to drive behavior, choices, and objectives. What I hope we can do is purchase things in spice or in Solari, or possibly even exchange things for other items. So say we have a lot of copper ore, maybe we can go to the auction house and do a swap for something else or barter for something else. If it's like that, it's going to be truly marvelous. Really, the last thing we want to explore is the economy of the auction house and everything that can be bought and sold. What we don't know is, will the prices of certain things be like a stock market where supply and demand will dictate the prices and functions of certain corners of the market? The other thing we need to consider with the economy is that we will be paying taxes to the Emperor, which appear to be paid in spice. So hopefully that indicates other things can be purchased with spice. But we definitely know that Solari is the currency, of course, and everything can be bought. So it's probably reasonable to assume that at least we'll be able to buy things with Solari. Now, not only that, in Dune Awakening, players can influence the economy through various other mechanics. So we've kind of gone over some, cornering the market, monopolizing high-value resources, spice, rare materials, etc. On the flip side of that, there's the resource scarcity. Groups could hoard resources and slow down the supply. You could also buy all the resources. So there's going to be a lot of different ways we could potentially impact the economy and marketplace. We might have to deploy strategic price undercutting or stockpiling. We know that spice is going to be the overall dominance for the market, underpinning everything together. Guilds will be fighting for spice control and Landsrad, impacting many elements and facets of not only the PvP zone, but the PvE zone. So being a solo player, supporting the guilds may even be in our best interest. Whether we're using the market, materials, or loaning out our skill as a mercenary could influence the economy. You could also opt in to hunt down rare schematics, sell those on the marketplace. You might want to be a vehicle merchant, selling all the various vehicles on the marketplace. You could be the seller of armors and goods. The power of this auction house functionality could not be understated. There's also kind of like a real estate-based economy where potential land and base location will be prized of a higher value. Staking those areas within the PvE zone may lead to someone else wanting to trade locations, but more importantly, we know that we can sell blueprints and designs of our bases. So if you're a very keen builder and you just want to build, well, there's going to be an economy system for you. You're going to be able to build the most elaborate bases, capture it, store it, and then sell it. Now, what I'm hoping within this system is that there's a way to duplicate that building design. So say if you have one building and you want to sell a blueprint of that building, well, can you sell multiple? How does that system work? Because if we can sell multiple blueprints of that same building, it means we can sell it across many different servers, and that's going to be a high value proposition. The only thing is how will it work? Because you're going to kind of need to see the building before you can sell it. So I don't know what systems they have in place for that. We'll have to watch that space. And just on the economy of real estate, there could be so many interesting interactions within the PvP zone. For instance, I know there's a big guild over there. I make contact with them and I pay for protection. For that week, they temporarily issue me a request into their guild. I join their guild and I harvest around their area. Don't have to engage anything, but I can pay for protection. I believe there's going to be many tiny facets of this. On the flip side, they may want more manpower. They might send out a a message and see if anyone wants to get paid to join their guild for a week if they do a few things. So as you can see, we're starting to get an image of how truly flexible this system's going to be. It's only going to be limited by imagination. The economy seems robust and flexible enough where we can have guilds that might just be focused on resources. So you might have PvE guilds where their sole attribution is gathering all the stuff in Hager Basin and flipping it on the market. Then they can use all that money to buy all their endgame gear, then maybe venture into Deep Desert, purchase protection. But there's going to be so many ways to interact with the economy. You could be a smuggler if some goods are banned or faction locked. You could smuggle them by joining the other side, stocking up on things, infiltrating. You could be a bounty hunter or an assassin. Maybe guilds might want to hit on someone. But really, this is just to get you formulating the potential. We also understand that there's a banking system where we can deposit funds. I don't know how much of a bank it is. I don't know if we gain interest, if we can get loans. It would be pretty unreal if you could. Whether through resource control, spice dominance, crafting, or underhanded deals. I think Dune Awakening offers a deep economy system that highly supports PvE and solo players. Couple that with the loot system that is very forgiving, brings together the final pieces of evidence to suggest that PvE is going to be even more so now, much more forgiving and applicable than what we originally thought. Let me know what you think about all this. Thanks very much for listening. Catch you next time.